Hi. So before I get into this one, I just want you to have a listen to this segment from a speech that Donald Trump made a day or so ago.
Particularly in the very near future, we're going to be placing tariffs on foreign production of computer chips, semiconductors, and pharmaceuticals to return production of these essential goods to the United States of America. They left us and they went to Taiwan, which is about 98% of the chip business, by the way. And we want them to come back, and we don't want to give them billions of dollars like this ridiculous program that Biden has. Give everybody billions of dollars. They already have billions of dollars. They've got nothing but money, Joe. They didn't need money. They needed an incentive, and the incentive is going to be they're not going to want to pay a 25, 50, or even 100% tax. They're going to build their factory with their own money. We don't have to give them money. They're going to come in because it's good for them to come in. They're giving them money. They don't even know what they're going to do with it. I had people tell me, we have no idea. We didn't need money. They don't know if they're probably going to use the money to build in other places, other countries. It's a ridiculous plan, very expensive and ridiculous. The only way you'll get out of this is to build your plant. If you want to stop paying the taxes or the tariffs, you have to build your plant right here in America. That's what's going to happen at record levels. We're going to have more plants built in the next short period of time than anybody ever envisioned before, because the incentive is going to be there, because they have no tariff whatsoever. In fact, they have help from us if they build their plant in America.
So this is really interesting. You've obviously heard him just say he intends to impose tariffs of 25, 50, or even 100% on semiconductors coming out of Taiwan. And he criticizes Biden's policy of giving them money to build plants in the US. Now, just to give you an idea of what we're talking about here, currently approximately 25% of Taiwan's GDP comes from semiconductor export, and we're predominantly a lot of the exports come from a company called Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Corporation. This is by far Taiwan's biggest chip maker, and they're the company that produces all the latest cutting edge chips for people like Apple, Nvidia, AMD, etc. There are other companies in Taiwan that are chip makers, but by far TSMC is the biggest. Now, what's very interesting about this is that American companies rely very, very heavily on TSMC. I've just mentioned the names of those companies. And for many, many years, America, for maybe more than 10 years, America pressured TSMC of Taiwan to build fabrication plants in the US. And for a long time, TSMC pushed back against this, citing that it would not be commercially viable for them to do so. But under the Biden administration promised TSMC huge subsidies, tens of billions of dollars, if they would build plants in America. So after many years, they finally succumbed and decided that they were going to build a plant in the USA, and they started building that plant. I believe it's in Arizona. I'm really not sure why they're building it in a place where there's not a lot of water, because one of the things that semiconductor manufacturing needs, apart from a lot of electricity, is a lot of water, and the place where they're building it just doesn't have a lot of water, so that's an issue. But anyway, once they'd decided to build this one plant, for whatever reason TSMC committed to building another 2 plants in the US. I'm not sure at this stage whether those have been started or not, but the first plant is it's about 2 years behind schedule, because they had issues with they had many issues building regulations, the costs and that. And actually the costs of building this plant have skyrocketed. And interestingly, even some top management at TSMC have suggested that the chips that will be produced in the American plants will be some 30 to 40% more expensive than the equivalent chips produced in the Taiwanese plants. But basically, TSMC capitulated to the USA and said they're going to build another 2 plants. And actually, at those other 2 plants, we're going to see some of the more advanced 2 and 3 nanometer node, which is the latest cutting edge chips being built at those plants. However, those plants are not planned to be operational until 2028. But this is a massive sort of change from the American administration. Biden was very, very protective of Taiwan. But it seems while Biden's doing that, he wants to basically strip all the semiconductor manufacturing out of Taiwan and have it all made in the US. So by imposing these tariffs, if he imposes tariffs of say 50%, it will actually mean that the chips that are produced in American factories will actually be cheaper than importing them from Taiwan. Now, TSMC's biggest customers, or Taiwan's biggest customers for semiconductors, there's 2 major markets, that's China and the USA. Now, in the Biden administration years, pretty much they banned TSMC from selling a huge amount of semiconductors into the Chinese market on the basis that TSMC uses certain American technologies to produce those chips. So they banned them. So TSMC lost a lot of their revenue of the Chinese market. And now basically Trump is basically saying with these tariffs that, look, you need to be building your factories and you need to be building your semiconductors in America. And if you don't, any that you produce in Taiwan, we're going to put massive tariffs on them, which will make them much more expensive. So of course, American customers are then going to want to buy them from the American factories. Now, this is going to have potentially a massive effect on the Taiwanese economy. As I said earlier, approximately 25% of their GDP comes from semiconductors. Now, I find this really kind of crazy that the Taiwanese government have really let this happen, because a huge amount of the Taiwanese economy is supported by the Taiwanese semiconductor industry, and it appears that Trump wants to move it all to the US. Now, up until now, America's policy is that Taiwan is a part of China, and Biden was really strong on this. He mentioned numerous times that in the event of the Chinese mainland trying to retake Taiwan, that the US would actually fight a war against the Chinese mainland to stop them taking Taiwan. Now, personally, I don't believe China have any intention of forcefully taking Taiwan back. I think they will wait for a natural reunification. I actually think what Trump is now doing will actually push Taiwan, which is a province of China, back towards the mainland. I mean, it was said that Taiwan had a silicon shield, and really Taiwan becoming close to the US under the current government, especially the previous government, Tsai Ing-wen, she was closer to America than she was the mainland, which baffles me somewhat. But basically, if all the chip manufacture is not going on in Taiwan, but it's going on in America, actually, what's the point of Taiwan to America? Why should they be interested in it? There could be a lot of issues in this, because TSMC have had a huge amount of problems actually getting enough staff for the first plant in America, never mind another two. So I really feel that Trump has jumped the gun a bit by saying this, because actually the TSMC are not ready to produce these cutting edge chips yet in the USA. But it could mean that they could potentially poach a lot of engineers and semiconductor scientists from Taiwan. I mean, already from what I understand, there's a lot who've moved from Taiwan and now are working in the US factory. But there was a report by McKinsey that suggested over the next, I think, 5 to 10 years that the US will need 75,000 semiconductor engineers, and currently the US is graduating around 1,500 per year. So there's a massive gap in the amount of people they have. So anyway, my thinking, to sort of conclude this, I think if this happens and for whatever reason a lot of the manufacturing of these cutting edge semiconductors does indeed move to the US, then actually Taiwan has no strategic value to America. And I think, from my point of view, my opinion is that I think the Taiwanese government were very, very foolish to allow this to happen. I mean, it's all, as far as I can see, this will be all a win-win for America, because not only will they end up getting all of Taiwan's latest technology, a lot of it will end up being built in the USA, and what will be left for Taiwan. And some people say, oh well, they still produce lots of legacy chips. Yeah, they do, but they're coming under increasing pressure now from the Chinese mainland, because foundries in the mainland are massively ramping up production of legacy node chips, and they're actually, Taiwan are finding it difficult to compete on price with those foundries. And as the mainland moves further forward and develops more cutting edge, they've already mastered 7 nanometer, and it's rumoured that they're also able to produce 5 nanometer. Now, there's a lot of effort, there's a lot of money being put into mastering the latest 3 nanometer, 2 nanometer and beyond with EUV. And they are making a lot of progress on that. It still might be a few years away, but I can tell you, when the mainland do that, other semiconductor manufacturers are going to be in big trouble. If you're a customer and you have, if this is a semiconductor and you can buy it from America for $100, or you can buy it from China for $30 or $50, you're going to buy it from China, because if you buy it from America, then your product is not going to be competitive on the world market. Anyway, just to reiterate, I think that Taiwan got very close to America because they thought they were their ally. America destroyed Japan's semiconductor business in the 80s. Japan thought they were a big ally of America. And I would say one thing, in my opinion, America doesn't have friends, it has interests. And once America's interests are met, then those allies are no longer useful and they jettison them. And I think this is exactly what is happening here with TSMC and Taiwan. I mean, it looks to me like Trump will turn TSMC into ASMC. Anyway, if you did like this video, give it a thumbs up. I'd really love to know what you think in the comments. Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think I've missed anything? Do you think I'm reading this wrong? Let me know in the comments. But as always, for now, take care.